Masisi, Walikale. Merci. Merci.
While fighting is still continuing in Eastern DRC, despite the fact that both parties have come out in public to announce that there is a ceasefire and that they are making concessions for a ceasefire, there are reports that there is continuous and heavy shelling on different fronts where the M23 and the FARDC are bordering. And in the latest update of what has happened in Eastern DRC is that the FARDC plus Wazalendo have waged a war against the M23, and they have managed to retake the town of Walikale. Well, that is part of the story that I'm going to tell you in this video, as well as Belgium denies that its troops are assisting the FARDC to fight the M23 in Eastern DRC, and a former governor in DRC has decided to shift parties to joining the AFC M23 movement in Eastern DRC. Well, that is the story that I'm going to tell you in this video. This is Bonafide. If you haven't subscribed, kindly subscribe and hit that notification button so that when I release something new on the DRC crisis, you get notified as soon as possible. Well, the M23 loses ground in the north. That is the update that we are getting from the conflict in Eastern DRC. Just 2 weeks ago, the M23 were out in public announcing that they have captured Walikale. Now, Walikale was a very strategic point for the M23, and this is just 400 kilometers shy of Kisangani. And that is the place where the M23 say that they want to go next to Kisangani. Mind you, that is the fourth largest city in Eastern DRC. And the president of DRC say that that will not happen. And we also saw the Belgians who set up camp in Kindu to assist the Congolese government and the Wazalendos to fight against the M23. They are saying that they are training the FARDC to fight the militia in Eastern DRC. We know that the FARDC is openly fighting the M23, and therefore that put Belgium in this conflict, partisan of course, assisting the FARDC to fight the M23. And we are now seeing, one way or another, we are seeing a rejuvenated FARDC plus the Wazalendo in North Kivu. They are fighting the M23, and they have successfully managed to retake the town of Walikale. And despite the fact that the Belgian government have come out to say that they are not assisting the FARDC to fight the M23 actively in Eastern DRC, there are credible reports that showed that the Belgian troops had increased their numbers in Eastern DRC recently from just mere 20 to about 300 to 400 Belgian troops in Eastern DRC. They are saying that they are assisting the Congolese army in training and what have you in military readiness. But we know that the M23 is actively fighting the FARDC. Therefore, any training that is going to the FARDC, of course, will now be applied to fighting the M23. And despite the fact that we don't know for sure if the Belgians are actively engaging the M23, there are reports that are also pointing to the direction that they are actively fighting against the M23 in that part of Walikale. They just set their camp there to prevent the M23 from advancing further towards Kisangani, and that will be a terrible loss for the Congolese government. But we are seeing the Congolese government right now taking charge of that situation. They are trying as much as possible to repel the M23 to prevent them from advancing further. And if you look at this conflict keenly, because we have a date that has been set by both parties that they are going to meet in Qatar to discuss the issues in Eastern DRC, that is the Kinshasa government and the M23 AFC. It is important to note that both of these parties, despite the agreement, want a strong position when they are going to meet to discuss or make concessions in Qatar. And therefore, the efforts that you are seeing on both ends, the M23 and the FARDC, are efforts so that when that day comes, when 9th of April comes, one party will have a strong position when they go to a table to negotiate or to talk about the conflict in Eastern DRC. And it therefore means that between now and 9th of April, there will be a lot of action in Eastern DRC because of this meeting that has been set, that one party will have a strong position and another party will have a weaker position, and the one who will have a strong position will have an edge in negotiating in that particular meeting in Qatar. And there are two ways of how you can look at this conflict. There is the military factor, and then there is the political factor. And the military factor, we know that the M23 has been actively fighting the FARDC, Wazalendos and other militia also assisting the M23 have been there. They are in different spots in Eastern DRC, both South Kivu and North Kivu. They have different fronts where they are engaging the troops of the FARDC and they are engaging the M23. We know that Burundi is also in South Kivu, 15,000 in number, fighting the M23 on the southern end. But there is the political factor, and the political factor is what now the M23 has really brought in this new fight against the Congolese government. They are now appealing to the public. They have now incorporated AFC by Corneille Nangaa, and they are going miles and miles to try to convince the people not to support the Congolese government. And we know that this alliance of the AFC M23 is turning out to be a powerful movement in DRC, because AFC, unlike M23 previously, AFC is not only pegged to Eastern Congo. AFC is a political party that has spread far and wide in DRC. There are members of AFC even in Western DRC, and that is now the change that this new movement in Eastern DRC has caused to the Congolese government, and that is why there has been a lot of success basically in this new onslaught by the M23 to fight the FARDC. And as the M23 is engaging militarily with the FARDC, the AFC is out there trying as much as possible to convince political players in Eastern DRC to join the movement. And the latest person who has joined the AFC M23 is a former governor of Sankuru province, Mr. Joseph Stefan Mukumadi. This former governor has decided today to join the AFC M23 to advance the ambitions of the AFC M23 that there is a need of change in regime in DRC. These are the same sentiments that have been shared by other players in DRC, including former president of DRC, Joseph Kabila, and many people in Katanga who have also showed their interest in the struggle that the M23 and the AFC are doing in the eastern part of DRC. Right now, if you can see where this Sankuru is, Sankuru province is at the center of DRC. And that means that the ideology and the values of the AFC M23 are now going to be preached in this particular province by a former governor. Of course, a former governor has a lot of say in that province. He was a former governor. He has a lot of people who are following him despite the fact that he is not in charge. There are people, of course, who are allied to his ambitions, to his values in that particular province. And it is expected that he is now going to popularize the AFC M23 in his province, and people are going to shift, some people that is, are going to shift to support the AFC M23 in his province. And well, as I conclude, there are reports also pointing to the direction that there is fighting and shelling in Masisi. The fight between the M23 and the FARDC is continuing at Masisi Center, and the FARDC wants to push the M23 further backwards towards Goma. Well, I will keep you informed of the latest of what is happening in Eastern DRC. Keep it bona fide.